Okay. So this is a portion of our meeting that we refer to as the open forum. Is there anyone here that wishes to address council under the open forum section? Permit up to 3 speakers for 5 minutes each. There being none, we recess until 7. Good.
A little bit. There we go.
Go ahead.
Good evening and welcome to the council meeting of the Town of Newmarket on Monday, November 16th, 2015. All members of council are present with Mayor Van Bynen presiding.
Thank you. There are no matters of public notice, and we do have an addendum. Mr. Shelton, if you could speak to the addendum, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, staff, and the public that are in attendance. We do have one addendum, and it is item number 8, Mr. John Heckbert to address council regarding item 12 of the Committee of the Whole minutes of November 9th, 2015 regarding Hollingsworth Arena. The other item, Mr. Mayor, that I'd like to ask council to consider under new business is today at the Special Committee of the Whole dealing with budget, there was discussion about the budget schedule. And what staff would really like to do is to advertise to the public in advance of that minute being approved by council, which would go to the next council meeting. So the dates that we used for council approval for the budget, it's either November 30th or December 14th. There is also talk about the potential of moving the approval date into January. So unless council wants to specifically identify the January date at this time, what we were looking for was direction to go to the latter date, to December 14th, but with the contingency of still being able to go to January if council feels that necessary, or straight to the January meeting. So we'd be looking for your direction on that. If you could deal with that under new business, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good. So we do have the addendum. Could I have a motion, please, to add the additional item onto the agenda for today? Councillor Sponga, Councillor Hempin. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. So our first item then is, now that we've determined the agenda, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Regional Councillor.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be declaring an interest on item number 4 from the Committee of the Whole minutes of November 9th. That item is related to a deputation from a resident in Newmarket who was asking the town to consider not advertising information, updates, community events in the Newmarket era to the residents of Newmarket. My wife works for the Metroland Media, which is the parent company that owns approximately 110 newspapers, of which the Newmarket Era is one. I did not declare an interest at that time because the deputant didn't inform council in the paper that submitted that it was going to be on that topic. We just thought it was generic to the budget. So now that that issue has been specifically raised and could have been a decision point for council, I will declare a conflict.
Okay, we'll deal with that.
Specifically on item number 4, the deputation.
Okay, thank you. We'll deal with that separately. Councillor Broom-Plumley.
Thank you. Just a reminder, Committee of the Whole minutes, October 20th, I declared an interest, municipal legislature review, specifically item 1, theme 2, as I am employed by the automotive industry.
Thank you. And that's a matter of the minutes. And so since those minutes have been decided, it's not necessary to declare at this point because they are part of the minutes and the declaration was part of those minutes. Okay. There are no presentations or recognitions, and our first deputation is Joan Stonehawker, and Joan is here to speak about Cycle Newmarket. Joan, if you could come forward. We permit up to 5 minutes.
Hi, everybody. Mr. Mayor and councillors and staff. It's a great opportunity today to speak to you about Cycle Newmarket. So Cycle Newmarket is a diverse group of citizens that advocates for a healthy, safe, cycling-friendly community. As you can see, we brought several members here in the audience today, so it is obviously an item that's important to the citizens of Newmarket. The group was really born at the September Idea Market at the Public Library, where the question was posed, is Newmarket a cycling-friendly community? After 5 member panel presentations and a lively conversation among the attendees, the consensus was that Newmarket had the potential to be a cycling-friendly community, but it's not there yet. Almost everyone that attended agreed to be contacted to get more involved in improving cycling in Newmarket. We developed the vision and the guiding principles that were included in your agenda package, and we're here today to put forward a couple of items that were of interest to all of us. We're really pleased with the active transportation network that has been approved by Council. This is a slightly older map, but you get the idea. And it certainly provides a well-connected network. We hope to ensure that the proposed cycling infrastructure actually gets built. I don't think there's a single cyclist in Newmarket that isn't disappointed that the bike lanes were removed from the Davis Drive plan. As a group, we would like to see more cycling infrastructure developed. There is little to no connectivity for bike lanes for people who use their bikes for transportation, those trips for shopping, to the library, to work. We would like to see the infrastructure included in the plans when roads are being improved on both town and regional roads. We understand that the region will be working on Prospect Street in the near future, and we would like to see Town Council encourage and support bike lanes on Prospect. Council did approve application for funding from the province to create an east-west bikeway on Millard and Shrigley as shown on this map. The Cycle Newmarket group was really excited to see this because it's a buffered bike lane and it'll provide a safe on-street route for cyclists. Some of the problems that a buffered lane on this route will solve is the speeding that's been identified on Millard and Shrigley. A bike beside you is not a car in front of you. Bike trips replace cars, and we need different ways to get downtown to this revitalized downtown core that's so exciting in Newmarket. And improved east-west access to downtown can reduce parking needs. It was nice to see the town add extra bike racks at the farmers market this summer when they proved to be full every Saturday. This, just for your information, is what a buffered bike lane looks like. So it has bullards and possibly those other, I think those some are lying down and some are up. And what it does is it just lets not the hardcore cyclists, like my friends back here, but nervous and novice cyclists actually get on the road to do some cycling. So improved cycling infrastructure meets the needs of Council's strategic priorities. There's lots of evidence from other communities that improved infrastructure supports economic development. Cyclists are more likely to stop and shop than people in their cars. It enhances recreation opportunities, quite obviously, because people are out on their bikes. And cycle lanes can have a traffic calming effect. More bikes mean less cars. So you can keep up with the activities of Cycle Newmarket through our Cycle Newmarket Facebook group, and we hope that you can use our enthusiasm for cycling to make Newmarket the vibrant and healthy community that it has the potential to be. Cycle Newmarket is here to help. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions of clarification, Regional Councillor?
Thanks very much for the presentation and the great attendance, and I think this is a fantastic new chapter for cycling in Newmarket to see the enthusiasm and energy and ideas coming forward. And I think it's great that it came out of the Public Libraries program, and it came out of the strategic plan some time ago, and to see that kind of sort of waterfall of ideas coming forward is great. The one question I had for you is, you mentioned that you wanted us to see, or you wanted to see the town move forward on cycle lanes on Bayview or Prospect when that work gets done. I guess my question to you would be, and my mind is open, but given that, unlike perhaps your desire, the reality is that we don't have an unlimited budget for cycle infrastructure, and we do have a plan, and you see a number of great things we could move forward. Would you, if it came to choices, that piece of Bayview and Prospect, it parallel, and one of the conversations we've had in meetings is it parallels very, very closely with multiple points where you can jump off. It parallels the Tom Taylor Trail that's very heavily used for cycling. Would you want to prioritize this knowing that there's an alternative so close by paralleling it? Or would you want us to perhaps move forward with the east-west more quickly? I guess because that's the world we live in, is hard
Yeah.
choices.
And I think they're two different questions, because I think the east-west is a separate funding from the province.
It's half of our funding.
Okay.
So it's-
And the Prospect one is, if we don't do this when we're changing the roads, it'll never get done. We won't ever see a cycle lane on Prospect. And the Tom Taylor Trail is good, but we know that multi-use trails are not the safest. If you're cycling and people are walking dogs and kids on Saturdays and Sundays, you don't see a lot of cyclists on that trail unless they're very slow recreational cyclists, because it's really hard to move at any speed at all. So I know that there's trade-offs, but I think it's something that we need to seriously look at, because if you miss the opportunities when they arise, then they'll be gone for a long time.
Fair enough.
Any other questions? Councillor Bizantz?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Joan. As someone who also rides to the south end of Aurora from time to time, not as often as you do, because we work around the corner, I can appreciate, the importance of a safe bike passage throughout the town, and also to connect us to other communities. So, but Mr. Mayor, my question relates to an issue actually that I raised back in early October. As you may know, there were 2 bike lanes or bike lanes put on both sides of Woodspring Avenue, running from Bathurst Street through to Green Lane. So it's bike lanes that connect 2 towns, because Woodspring goes through both Newmarket and East Gwillimbury. And initially it was sort of seen as, isn't this wonderful, we finally got bike lanes on both sides of the street. And also a measure that would help with calming, because Woodspring is a very wide road, and one that we've seen a lot of problems with people speeding and so forth. So, not only was it a good part of our active transportation plan, but it was also a mechanism for traffic calming. However, one of the, with every action, there's sometimes a reaction that isn't one that we necessarily had anticipated. With the bike lanes, it took away all on-street parking for a very, very long stretch of a residential road. This isn't sort of a major throughway, although it's become one. And so the motion that was accepted was that staff be asked to report back within 60 days on options to reinstate street parking on Woodspring Avenue that's complementary to the existing bike lanes. And I really want to emphasize the complementary, because it wasn't an attempt to delete or eliminate any bike lanes, but really to look at how can we bring some parking back, because it's necessary for the residents who live on that street. It's unsafe for them to go, leave their cars on other streets, or and then residents on those other streets aren't very happy about people coming parking on their street. So my question, I guess, is whether you showed an example of a bike lane treatment that would work. Whether you're aware of any ways in which you could accommodate both parking in some areas along with bike lanes, so that you'd have sort of safe passage for both.
You may want to research that at the library, but you can share that information with us.
Yeah, I'm not a real expert on all the alternatives that people have tried. I know that that not having parking on your road is difficult, because I live on a street that doesn't have any parking on either side of the road, and when I have book club, they have to walk a long way to come to my house. So I learned to live with it. So I think there's a balance, and I think we can look at these things, but I'm not sure that parking needs to be king all the time.
Okay, well, in any event, Mr. Mayor, we will be getting a report back from staff, so, in due course, but it
This
just,
might be an opportunity through you, Mr. Mayor, for staff to consult the group that we have at Cycle Newmarket, because there are actually some experts in the group that know a lot more about these things than I do.
Okay. Now,
Thank you.
would staff be able to reach them through you?
Through me or through the Facebook group, but
Okay.
through me is fine.
Okay, good. Mr. Nohammer, that might take a note of that. Okay, any further questions? In the absence of that, could I have a motion to receive the presentation? Councillor Bazans, Councillor Broom Plumley, all those in favor? And that is carried. Our next deputation is Mr. Heckbert, relative to the Hollingsworth Arena. Thank you. Mr. Heckbert, you have 5 minutes.
As I was reviewing the recent press clippings on the Hollingsworth Arena, I noticed it was a number of times it was said that the Hollingsworth Arena had reached the end of its serviceable life. And that started me wondering, what is serviceable life? Does it mean that we're looking at extra operating expenditures to maintain the premises, to keep it up and running? Are we looking at extra capital expenses? I know we've done the roof in the arena in the last 5 years. But is there anything else that we need to be prepared for? Is there anything that makes this thing truly reach the end of its life? Like, for example, is the building structurally unsound? That begs the question is whether it's servicing the community's needs today, and I believe that the commissioner in the article had reported that it is in demand today, that it is being utilized. And are there any significant reasons why it will not be able to satisfy the community needs going forward? The town's growing, interest in the sports waning, but with the offsetting population, we're likely to see a continuing need for the arena space itself. And then how is end of serviceable life determined? So looking at the Newmarket arenas, we have 16% of our ice surfaces are in a single surface facility, that being Hollingsworth. Less than 20% of the arenas are less than 30 years old. And in the article itself, it was mentioned that they are booked 85% of the time. Pretty good utilization for an old building. Meanwhile, Toronto, 82% of their facilities have a single ice surface. Only 6% of their buildings, 3 of the 49 arenas in the city, are newer than Hollingsworth. In fact, 23 of Toronto's arenas were built prior to 1960. Almost half of their assets, they're at least 55 years old and still in active use today, with a target utilization of only 75%. And if they hit that, they figure they've got them pretty well booked solid. These are all ice rinks that I played in. Lambton Arena has a really nice concrete ticket booth in the front lobby, probably built back in the early 50s. Lions Club Arena, I've got more time in the penalty box than I'd ever care to want to admit to. And Pine Point Arena, which I grew up near. There's a complete list of the arenas in Toronto, and if you notice, Hollingsworth is in there near the top of the list. Those are the only 3 arenas that were built after Hollingsworth was built. Obviously, one of them in an area where they've actually seen a large population growth in the late 70s and into the 90s up in Malvern community. If you notice, the Goulding Community Center is still up in operation. It was built in 1936. In fact, 20% of Toronto's arenas were built as part of Canada's Centennial in 1967. So So what is the true cost of keeping an ice surface around? I think we can agree that the cost of maintaining an ice surface is relatively the same, whether you're on 3 pads or 1. The cost of maintaining a single pad is roughly the same. Capital costs in a building, once it's spent, sunk, that contributes very little to the ongoing operating expense. The operating cost of maintaining an arena, regardless of the number of ice pads in, is roughly the same per square foot. And all we're really doing, if we do declare Hollingsworth surpluses, we're shifting the operating cost to another location and adding to the capital expenses with minimal benefit into the community. Because we do need the ice surface. I think we can all agree to that. Some recommendations for council: fully explore the alternative of keeping Hollingsworth, because I believe it has not reached its end of serviceable life. But we do need to find ways of offsetting the cost of maintaining it, and perhaps off-season usage would be one way of doing it. But I do like the idea of a partnership with Pickering Colleges. We do need more recreational facilities, as evidenced by the deputation earlier today from the Psycho Group. Once you've encouraged the child to be recreationally and to be active, they will continue to be active for the rest of their lives. And sharing the cost is a good idea. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions for clarification? Being none, it would be appropriate to receive the deputation and refer it to staff for information purposes. Councillor Sponga, Councillor Bizantz. All those in favor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. John, here. And that is carried. Next item is the council minutes of October 26th. Are there any corrections? Could I have a motion, please, to approve those minutes? Councillor Kerwin. Seconded by Councillor Sponga. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. There is no correspondence or petitions presented to council. There is a petition in the committee of the whole. It was dealt with at that level. Reports by regional representatives.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things I want to highlight. The first one is that this Thursday, York Region Council will be considering the 2016-18 proposed regional budget. Next week, Thursday, Regional Council will be considering the York Region Police 2016 budget and outlook for 17 and 18. That's November the 26th. I also just want to let people know that the Committee of the Whole this last Thursday, and it's part of the agenda, gave consideration to and received a report on the Environmental Services Capital Infrastructure Status Update, and it's an overview of the capital projects that are ongoing throughout the region and will be ongoing for a number of years. It looks backwards and forwards and reviews the roughly $2.3 billion over the next 10 years that will be invested in capital infrastructure to keep the region moving. It's a very interesting document, and it's available both online and through the region or myself. And finally, I just wanted to highlight also that we had a substantive document. It's 100-plus pages. That was the analysis of the York Region 2041 preferred growth scenario, and that's looking at sort of how the region intends to grow over a number of years in the future, particularly the level of intensification that it's going to seek. It appears that it's being narrowed down to two options, one of 40% intensification, which is the provincial minimum, and one of 45% intensification. And while this doesn't sound like earth-shattering differences, it can have quite an effect or quite a difference on the shape of the centers and corridors in particular, and the success of a lot of the work that's gone on in these regional corridors and on the Viva Rapid Transit ways. And so that will be a very interesting discussion and debate at council. This also has some very interesting documentation in it, including a look at, by one of the experts in the industry, a look at his view of intensification, multi-story residential, commercial, and office buildings, et cetera, and their viability throughout the region over the coming number of years. That was commissioned by the region. So a very interesting report as well that looks at how the region may grow, and the decision is yet to be made in terms of the level of intensification. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. We'll forward then. The next item is reports of committees and staff. Our first item is the workshop record of October 26th. And that was the workshop that we had with respect to economic development and the presentation by Barry Lyons Consulting relative to the marketing plans for Davis Drive. Could I have a motion to approve that workshop record, please? Councillor Sponga, Councillor Broom-Plumley. All those in favor? That is carried. That is carried. Thank you. Next item is the Committee of the Whole minutes of November the 9th. Any items to be dealt with separately? We do have a declaration with respect to item number 4, which we'll deal with separately. Regional Councillor, any other items to be dealt with separately? Regional Councillor.
15.
Artificial turf field. Any other items? Could I have a motion then to deal with all of the items with the exception of item number 4 and item number 15? Councillor Vague, seconder. Councillor Kerwin, thank you. All those in favor? And that is carried. Item number 4 is the deputation for Mr. Blommenstein, and we're dealing with this separately because we do have a declaration. Councillor Kerwin, seconded by Councillor Vague. Any discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Item number 15 is the artificial turf field. We have some recommendations before us. Could I have a motion with respect to those recommendations? Regional Councillor.
I'll move the recommendations with the exception of number 2. And we can have a discussion, and then if it needs to get added back in, we can do so, but I know you need a motion on the floor.
I'll second that.
That when you say number 2, you mean AII?
Correct.
Okay, good. Sorry. All right. Okay, speaking to it as the mover.
Thanks very much. So this was one of the, and I think I'd like to just point out for the viewing audience that we had a committee of the whole meeting on over 20 items on the agenda today with council that are here for ratification. And so all of these items have been previously debated and discussed. In fact, the meeting went over 6 hours, and many of the motions were altered and changed and debated extensively. I'm pulling this one, although we're ratifying everything here, just because I'm a little uncertain about this number 2, or AII, that refers to the 2017 operating budget. And I guess, well, my first question is to staff, is it necessary, because it's 2017 operating budget, couldn't we have an awful lot of time to deal with having that inserted or not? And given that that reflects the original direction, and we're now seeking a direction where staff negotiate with the school board around split funding. Could we simply remove that so that that's left to be decided at a future point?
Mr. Sheldon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd ask either of the commissioners that were the authors of the report to comment on that, but I think the point is valid that item I believe changes, item III changes item II, but I'll turn it over to the commissioners.
Mr. Nohammer. Sorry. Mr. McDougall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Nohammer and I have just quickly conferred, and absolutely, it's not an issue at all to remove that. And Mr. Shelton is correct that depending on what happens in the third one, which relates to going back in further negotiations with the school board on a cost share arrangement on operating, that would certainly influence what would eventually be a potential budget impact. So no problem at all to remove that.
Great, thank you very much. And I guess just the reason, the other reason, obviously, to change it to more accurately reflect the discussion and the changed motion, but I guess from a negotiating standpoint, it's probably better not to have the direction to fully fund something and then seek to have cost sharing. And so, but I'm glad we're going in this direction and speaking with the school board about cost sharing the operational costs in what I believe is a more equitable manner. So thanks very much, and I'll leave it as it is with the exclusion of II.
Okay. Councillor Kerwin, as a seconder? Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Yep. I'm going to beg council's indulgence because I'll need a reconsideration. We did deal with item number 12, which was the Northern Six Waste Collection, and I'm sorry that I didn't pull that separately. But I'd like to speak to that item, and particularly I'd like to vote with respect to the two-bag fee, or the two-bag limit. So I'll ask that we, for the record, give a reconsideration to item number 12 in order that we can have that discussion. So I'll need a motion to that effect.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a seconder for that motion? Okay, Regional Councillor? All those in favor? Okay, that is carried then, and it has the required two-thirds majority for reconsideration. The recommendations are before you. I would like to ask that each of the recommendations be dealt with separately. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this item? These are the recommendations. Page 5. We're dealing item number 12. If we want to move all of the items, the one that I did want to speak to was with respect to the two-bag limit. That is number, I guess it's I. It's the second last item at the bottom of page 6.
Second I, third I.
Yeah, aye. And it references amending and omitting the bag limit references under items 2, 3, and 4, and 7. So,
So do you want all separate, Mr. Mayor, or just that one?
I can deal with that one separate. That's the one that I wanted to speak to. So we need
So would it be better if I moved the rest of them then?
just move the whole thing, and then we can just deal with that one
So
separately.
I'll move everything but that.
Okay. Okay. Any discussion, or who's the seconder on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, Councillor Hepburn. Any discussion with respect to the other items? All those in favor then? And that is carried. I could have a motion then with respect to item II, and specifically with reference to the elimination of the two-bag limit and continuation of the three-bag limit. Regional Councillor?
I believe it's item I, or the final item I that you're referring to?
Yes.
Not II? Yeah. So that second, or the third I, or the first I from the bottom of the page, I'll move it as is.
Okay. I'd recommend that's the changes to the bylaw. Mm-hmm. Councillor Spunger?
For the sake of clarity, could we read that clause?
Okay, just so that we know what we're dealing with. The clause that I think you're dealing with, Regional Councillor, is that Council adopt the recommended amendments to bylaw number 2011, establishing and maintaining a system for collection, removal, of disposal of garbage, other refuge, yard waste materials, recycling, etc., as outlined in Appendix A of the report, as amended to omit bag limit references of items 2, 3, 4, and 7, And I think those referenced reducing the bag limit to 2, I think.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah, good. Okay, so I need a seconder for that motion. Councillor Twinney, speaking to the motion, Regional Councillor.
Thanks very much. Again, we had a very lengthy debate on this topic, and the variety of opinions were certainly heard, and it was a really good discussion. Essentially, staff were proposing that we move from a 3 garbage bag per household limit to a 2 garbage bag per household limit, and then people would would buy extra bag tags to support any overages. The part of the reason, I believe I'm trying to be fair to both sides of this debate, but part of the reason was also is to try to achieve harmonization with the Northern Six as we enter into a long process of renewing the contract, which is probably a process that will take up to a year. So the my feeling on it is that we were presented with quite a bit of some data from staff that was very helpful. What it demonstrates, in my reading of the data, what it demonstrates is that Newmarket essentially is achieving, on average, very close to a 2-bag limit as it is, and that might beg the question, well, then why not go to a 2-bag limit? And my feeling on it is that, first of all, some of the communities that have the lower limits are not necessarily, those lower limits are not necessarily driving, the data doesn't show that it's driving the desired result, which is improved recycling and improved organics. Number 2, we are a leader in diversion, Newmarket and York Region. It's a leader in diversion in the province, and diversion. I think it's great that we're a leader, but how much can we afford to lead by? Because there's a cost. Diversion is more expensive than regular garbage, and we're already leading the pack. So there's a further cost potentially to going even further down that road. Also, I think that harmonization, an admirable goal, but will be very difficult. We've got Georgina with a 1-bag limit, a couple of communities with 2-bag limits, and I think 3 with 3-bag limit. And I think the chance that all of them are going to come together, particularly Georgina, everybody's not going to move to a 1-bag limit. So I see that as a very, if it's a rationale, I think it's a very unlikely one to occur. Most importantly for me, I think that it's adding a form of user fee taxation to residents who are basically already achieving this. And so let's say I put out 2 bags many weeks, but I have a birthday party or I have something else, then I got 3 bags. Even though the community is, according to the data, is by and large at the 2-bag point, we are charging people for a 3rd bag here and there when they occasionally do exceed it. Of course, if they are only at 1 bag, we don't credit them for that. And so I think if the average is there, if the data doesn't strongly speak to a need to improve that number, it's not like we're at 4 or something and we need to drive this down because we're such an outlier to other communities. So my feeling is I think it's a lot to ask of residents to have tags on hand all the time and to take this down further. I don't think the data supports the need for it, and I think residents have already pretty much achieved it. And so I think that we're better off staying there. However, I would like to point out that at the request of Councillor Hempen, we do have a motion here that's just been passed that staff continue to explore the option of putting a 2-bag and a 3-bag limit in the RFP to see if that produces a cost savings with the winning proponent or with the bidders. That's worth considering. So if there's a financial argument to be made, we'll discover that through that additional recommendation that was added in. So I don't think the door has been closed fully, but I think that was the preference of council in the committee of the whole debate. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Councillor Twinney is the seconder. Thank you. Councillor Kerwin.
Just on that, hopefully in the negotiations, we may be able to harmonize it, Mr. Mayor. And as you say, there's only one with the 1-bag limit, and we might come back with a harmonized 2. So there's that option.
Yep. Thank you, and I can appreciate the other perspectives. At committee, I did not support this motion, and my reasons for doing so is that although we're achieving the average 2-bag limit, the the general tax rate or the general taxpayers are subsidizing those that do not. And so I think there's a better allocation of cost for those who do provide an extra cost to the municipality. So I thought that was fair. It's also worthy of note that without reducing the bag limit to 2, we're probably going to need to seek an additional $20,000 somewhere in our budget if we're not able to reduce the bag limit and to have those that put out more garbage pay more. So that's the reason I won't be supporting it. I think the harmonization would be great, and there could be some real opportunities. Whether we land on 2 bags or not, I don't know that yet. But just out of principle, I think that the general taxpayer is paying for the extra bags over the 2-bag limit, and for those that are contributing more to those costs, those principles, I think that's why I won't support not reducing the bag limit to 2. Regional Councillor?
2 comments about the general taxpayer. One is that you're making the assumption that there are people that are over 2 and there are people, there are households that are over 2 and there are households that are under. And I think in many cases it's the same household. Some weeks they're over, some weeks they're not. And the revenue that you would be gaining is from some of the same households that are often at 2. And then they have a week or 2 where they're at 3. I think the other part is that there's an issue of intergenerational equity here. Frankly, many of the families who may need on greater occasions, or the ones that you're saying, the taxpayers that are being subsidized, are indeed families. And some of those people who maybe don't need to put out as many garbage bags, don't have as many people in the household anymore, but there was a time they did, and the system supported them at that time. And so people work through a sort of a life cycle of garbage use that can be heavier at times, and I certainly know that from having a young family. And so I think it's balanced out that way in the past. And so I think there's a few ways to look at that issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I agree that households are at different levels of maturity, and that probably reflects their output. Nonetheless, we talked earlier about a 1-bag credit if we don't put 1 bag out. Well, actually, if we reduce the bag limit to 1, then the 1-bag credit would come to the entire taxpayer. I don't think we should go that far. I think that we have shown that we can operate substantially most of the time, and that's my observation in my neck of the woods, within 1, if not 2-bag limit. So I think a 2-bag limit is appropriate and probably fairer to the general tax rate. So, and I appreciate that we can have differences. Any further discussion? Councillor Hampton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through you to staff, when will we be receiving the information on the 2 options and what the potential cost savings are for 2-bag or 3-bag limit, what those costs will be?
Mr. Shelton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, we will carry this recommendation forward to the Northern Six meeting of the CIOs and the Directors of Public Works to ensure that we do get agreement to go forward with a proposal call that does have that in it. We would be reporting back to Council, and assuming that it does move forward in this manner, then it would be as part of the results that would come in as part of the solid waste tender, which I believe is the latter part of 2016.
Thank you. Councillor Kerwin.
Just in comment to that, this is why I don't want to tie the hands of the negotiator, and I want to give them some leeway here. And this is, we can make that decision after we come back, knowing what our Northern Six really want, Mr. Mayor. But this way, we allow some leeway here to our negotiators.
So, leaving it open, yes, or leaving it the 3-bag limit? Yep. Understand. That's why I'm going in this way at this time. Then down the road, Mr. Mayor,
could happen. Things
could come back. That's true. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Sponga.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've had the opportunity to deal with this issue in the past. I can't remember a number of years ago. And I've always been a big proponent that waste is no different than your hydro bill. It's a consumption service. Right now, if I use 50 kilowatts of power, I pay for 50 kilowatts of power. If my neighbor uses 100, he pays for 100. And I think garbage is the same thing. I hear from many seniors that they feel that the whole issue, even in terms of not just garbage alone, but even the cost of the green bin, and that's what I referred to in past discussions. The fact that back then it was some $90-some a ton. I'm not sure what the cost is now for the pickup of the green waste, but again, that number is being socialized. So if a senior puts out one bag, they're actually paying for families like mine that puts out 5 bags. I don't believe in a hybrid system. I don't think hydro tells us, everybody through their taxes pays for 100 kilowatts of power, and then those who use over that pay an additional fee. So you either go for a user pay system or you go to a socialized system. I think the issue of 2 bag versus 3 bags, I voted against it the last time. I think it's going to cause a lot of confusion. I think you're going to find a lot of people that are going to try to sneak the 3rd bag. So there's not enough clarity for me. So for that reason, I think I will wait. I will support this based on Councillor Kerwin's point that we're going to get those results back from the negotiations and see what that does. But I remain firm that you either socialize or you don't socialize the service. You don't come up with some sort of hybrid in between.
Thank you. Okay, well, I was hoping that maybe a 2-bag limit might set a leadership role with the N6 as well, but I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion? No? And opposed? That carries. I believe that deals with all of the items on our Committee of the Whole agenda. Next item is the Committee of the Whole closed minutes. Can I have a motion, please, that the closed session minutes of November the 9th be approved? Councillor Vague. Seconder? Councillor Broom-Plumley. All those in favor? And that is carried. We have 2 items that were dealt with in the closed session. Item number 1, could I have a motion, please, that the Office of the Chief Administration Office Corporate Services Legal Services Report and Commissioner's Joint Closed Session Report number 2015-09 regarding the potential acquisition of land in Ward 6 be received, and that staff proceed as directed at the November the 9th Committee of the Whole closed session. Councillor Vague. Councillor Kerwin. All those in favor? Next item is a motion, please, that the verbal report from the Senior Solicitor and the Chief Administration Officer be received, and that the staff proceed as directed at the November 9th, 2015 Committee of the Whole closed session meeting. And that relates to Recreation and Culture Report number 2015-31, which was in the open session. The discussion was relative to negotiations in the closed session. Could I have a motion? That motion, please. Regional Councillor, seconded by Councillor Twinney. All those in favor? That is carried. Bylaws. Madam Clerk. We only have one bylaw, so we'll deal with it separate.
Bylaw 2015-52 is a part lot control exemption bylaw for the Mosaic Homes development in the Bathurst Street and Davis Drive West area, as shown on the location map on page 46 of the council agenda.
Have a motion with respect to the bylaw? Councillor Kerwin, seconded by Regional Councillor. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Any notices of motion? Any motions? Community announcements. We'll start with Councillor Hampton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first time I've been first here. Thank you. Yard waste collection has been extended until the week of December 1st. Please place items at the curb no later than 7 a.m. on your scheduled day of collection. For more information, you can reach us at the town at 905-895-5193. You can also download the My Waste TM app on your Apple or Android device, or visit newmarket.com. Thank you.
Councillor Sponga.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This Wednesday, November 18th at 7 p.m., hosting our Ward 5 meeting for the residents of Ward 5 at the Town of Newmarket Municipal Offices at 395 Newlock. Come in here what's happening in your ward, and for more information, please don't hesitate to call 905-953-5323, extension 2025, or email me at jsponga@newmarket.ca, and hope to see you all there.
Thank you. Councillor Broom-Plumley.
Thank you. Ward 6 residents are invited to drop in for our ward meeting on Wednesday, November the 18th from 7 till 9 p.m. at the Newmarket Public Library, 438 Park Avenue. Find out what's happening in our ward. For more information, you can contact me at 905-953-5323 or email me at kbroomplumley@newmarket.ca.
Thank you. Councillor Bazans.
Thank you. My announcement is with respect to the noise bylaw review. The town would like to thank residents who took part.
Your microphone, please. Mike. Sorry.
Again. It's all about the noise, that's right. The town would like to thank residents who took part in a survey of the town's noise bylaw, currently under review. We received 129 survey responses that were completed online and in person at the farmers market. Staff are currently compiling feedback from the resident survey, identifying the needs of various businesses, and drafting noise regulations. A staff report will come forward in the new year recommending new noise regulations. More information can be found online at newmarket.ca or by contacting the town's Legislative Services Department.
Thank you. Regional Councillor.
Where you're going. Just wanted to mention that the Very Useful Theatre Company is inviting everybody to join them on December the 6th from 3 to 5 p.m. for a reading of the Christmas Carol. This performance will be at the New Hope Methodist Church, 337 Queen Street in Newmarket, and hosted by Tim Jones, the classic. Charles Dickens' piece will be read live by Mayor Van Bynen, Mayor Daw, Mayor Haxon, and Steve Hinder. So sure to be extremely high-quality theater and performance.
Now we're going to add the quality by adding Councillor Bazans as well.
Oh, it's okay.
Speaking.
The evening will also include a choir singing seasonal music, etc. So tickets are $20, adults $15 for seniors and children over 12, and the proceeds will go to CHATS, Community Home Assistance to Seniors, and you can get tickets at snapt.at/PETUWA. I would have thought we could have an easier way to direct people, but or else I suggest you maybe just call CHATS for information, or you can probably find that link on the CHATS website, I would assume. Also, I just want to mention that upcoming Tuesday, November the 24th, at 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Is the Chamber of Commerce Business Thrives Conference and Expo. It's going to be a very, very good event. And Bruce Croxon, former Dragon's Den, is going to be there and co-hosting and speaking. There are a number of speakers along with him on various topics. So you can find out information about that on the Chamber of Commerce website. And finally, the Doan House has their upcoming event, Art and Soul, to support the Doan House Hospice. And this is an evening of art that's been produced by clients of the Doan House. And that, you can find out more information. It'll be at the Aurora Cultural Center Wednesday, November 25th, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. And you can find out more information by calling the Doan House, and that number is 905-967-0259.
What's the date of that again, John?
What's that?
The date?
The date of that is Wednesday, November 25th, and it's at the Aurora Cultural Center.
Thank you.
Could you repeat the date for the theater production?
I am
live in the very near proximity of the Methodist Church, just a few houses away. I'm just concerned about overflow parking and the impact that
crowds.
You could make a motion to have police assistance for the large crowds that will be swarming to see Mayor Van Bijen's performance.
I missed the motion. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Twinney.
Well, it's that time of year again, so join us in welcoming Santa Claus to Newmarket on Saturday, November 21st, this coming Saturday. The Newmarket Santa Claus Parade starts at 11 a.m. at the corner of Eagle and Lorne Avenue. Proceeds east on Eagle Street, then north onto Main Street. The parade will end at Ontario Street this year. Canada Post will be traveling ahead of the parade to pick up letters to Santa, and Era carriers will be collecting non-perishable food items for the Newmarket Food Pantry. Hope to see you there, and let's hope we have beautiful weather like we've been having this past week or so for this coming Saturday's parade.
Thank you. Councillor Kerwin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. November the 18th, it's going to be a conflict, Joe, between your ward meeting, but that's when the Historical Society is having their annual potluck dinner at the Community and Lions Hall. And I must say, all members of council are invited, and there will be a personal invitation in your box tonight. So please join us. It's a real festive occasion, and they've been doing this for decades. And as I say, it is potluck. So just notify me that you're coming and what you're bringing, and you will be received most welcomely by the Newmarket Historical Society this Wednesday night at 6 o'clock at the Community Center. The other item is on Friday, November the 20th. Come out, enjoy the annual candlelight parade and tree lighting ceremony presented by Main Street Merchants. The parade begins at 7 p.m. at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church. Meet the Snow Queen and take a picture from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Free hot chocolate and candle glow sticks for the first 200 people. Bring in a non-perishable food item or toiletry for a chance to win a $150 Main Street holiday gift voucher. All donations go to the Newmarket Food Pantry and the Grandparent Connection. So it really is a wonderful evening, and I hope the weather's going to be nice. So join us this Friday, November the 20th at the foot of Main Street.
Thank you. Councillor Vague.
Thank you. I have 14 items tonight. Just want to see if anybody's paying attention. Two items tonight. One, you've heard from Councillor Twinney that we have the Santa Claus Parade going up along Main Street on Saturday. Also, so all the people coming out for the Santa Claus Parade, I invite you to take advantage and visit the Almond Campbell Museum Christmas gift shop sale, which is also on Saturday, November 21st, from 9:30 in the morning till 2:30 in the afternoon. We have unique gifts, antiques, glassware, Christmas decorations, home decor, and much, much, much more. The event is presented by Friends of the Museum, and it is cash only. For more information, please call 905-953-5314 or email elmanmuseum@rogers.com. The second item I have is on Tuesday, December 1st, we have the Ward 1 drop-in at the Magna Center on the main floor from 7 in the evening to 9 in the evening. So this is an opportunity for Ward 1 residents to come by, say hello, talk about things that are important to you in our ward and how we can make our ward and our town an even better place. And because this is my December drop-in, we will be having cookies and hot chocolate available for all our guests. Thank you.
Thank you. The 2016 budget process is nearing completion. The 2016 fees and charges will be submitted for approval at a special council meeting on Monday, November the 30th at 7 p.m. here in the council chambers. For more information on Newmarket's budget, please visit www.newmarket.ca/budget 2016 or call 905-895-5193. And the next regular council meeting is on Monday, December the 14th at 7 p.m. There's no requirement for a closed session. If I can have a motion with respect to the confirmatory bylaw, please. Sorry, new business. Yes, Mr. Sheldon, you've raised the budget question. So we're seeking some direction from council following up on the discussion. The dates that we had talked about was the November 30th, which I had mentioned earlier. December 14th had been originally scheduled for the approval of the budget. So is it council's wish to leave the schedule standing that way with an option to January of 2016? Or do you want to just go directly to January 2016? I have Councillor Sponga and then a regional councillor.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to queue for new business.
Okay, sorry. This is new business, but can we deal with that one and then we'll come back? Regional councillor on this matter?
It's interesting to see what other members of council say, but I'd like to see us schedule a final meeting in January and take a little more time in the meetings to work through some of the issues in front of us. I mean, we just today indicated that perhaps a need for an individual committee meeting to new hires. I think the whole issue about fire services is, and we're waiting for clarification on what our role is or what the proper governance process is for dealing with those issues. So I think any of those could add time, and as I said before, I'd hate to find us feeling pressured and rushed right before Christmas to get this finished with. So I'd prefer to schedule a meeting in January and hold the meetings that have been established or the ones into December that were put up by staff, whichever scenario, to continue. And if possible, it'd be nice to sort of, instead of, and I don't know if it's designed, but to know that each meeting, one is going to be for this, one's going to be for capital, one's going to be for the staffing request review or something. So there's a bit of we know what we're working through, and that would be helpful too, as well. So that would be my thoughts.
Thank you. Councillor Brezans to this?
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I think that it would be helpful if we could delay it till January, because there is still a lot of information that I think we have to receive, and even though we had very, very intense discussions today, and it was quite a long meeting, there was a lot of information to try and process all at once without really sort of understanding completely some of the priorities and the impact of shifting some of the priorities around, and funding certain things and not funding others. So I think we do need that extra time, but I would be interested, Mr. Mayor, in just better understanding what that impact may be on staff if we have to wait until January to approve the budget. Will it affect things in order to make certain decisions if we delay by a month? So I would be interested in that.
Okay, Mr. Shelton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We could work with that schedule in terms of impact on staffing. The only thing that may come up, and it's unlikely because it's not a long period of time, and that is if we wanted to get going on some of the capital projects to get out to an early tender call, but we could bring that forward earlier. So in January, if I may, these dates have not been established with council because we're setting the schedule for the January meetings. But right now, subject to that approval by council, there would be a committee of the whole meeting on January 11th and a council meeting on the 18th. We would still use the December 7th for one of the meetings where it's dedicated to budget. So we could, with your approval, go forward and make that announcement to the public so that they see that the target date for approval of the budget, if council wishes to proceed in this manner, is in January, and it would be the 18th, the council meeting. So it gives you a couple of extra meetings to consider some of the issues that you raised today.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Brezans?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Shelton, for clarifying that. And I think as well that it's important to sort of recognize that the decision regarding fee changes and some of those things that we also discussed today will have to go ahead, I assume, by January 1st. So we're really talking about the operating and capital budgets and some of the priorities around that. And I'd just like to point out we had, for example, a very lengthy discussion about the importance to Council's strategic plan about addressing traffic calming, traffic mitigation as one of the key priorities, not only for Council, but something that we hear a lot from residents. And we heard this afternoon that part of the implementation with concrete action as opposed to just hiring a new manager to look at developing policies and so forth, but the actual action steps around traffic calming, we wouldn't be receiving something until about midway through the year. So that, for example, is something I would want to make sure would not be negatively impacted by delaying till January, because I think there's an urgency and a need to certainly move forward from my perspective, and a lot of residents, I'm sure Councillor Vague shares this thought, to move forward at least on that front, as well as some other priorities.
Thank you. Mr. Shelton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just the point that was raised about the fees and charges, that is a good one. We could set out the approval process for those as part of the overall update to the schedule. And insofar as those traffic-related initiatives are concerned, it would not impact that.
So, yep, fees. Fees and charges, I think we're scheduled for November 30th in any event, so that can go forward. But to the point about having the meetings and what the topics of those meetings, just in a general format, I think would be helpful in terms of getting an understanding of what we're heading into throughout coming into the new year. Okay, could I have a motion then to adopt the revised schedule as outlined?
As outlined with
January the
schedule be
adjusted
to January 11th Committee of the Whole and the January 18th Council.
for final approval. Okay, good. Is there a seconder? I'll second that, Councillor Kerwin. Okay. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. New business, Councillor Smonga.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Residents on Queen Street have either received or are about to receive a notice in regards to the first phase of the water main replacement on Queen Street between Lauren Avenue and Wilstead. There is, of course, as I mentioned before, there's quite a bit of concern in Ward 5, not just in terms of speeding traffic on Millard, Queen, etc., but also in terms of the infiltration that we've seen as a result of the Viva Next construction. One of my major concerns that I've raised time and time again with the director is the fact that if we move in 2016 with capital works either on Millard, Queen, or Park Avenue, that it could be, it would seriously put the residents of Ward 5 in a gridlock and basically taking away all the east-west residential routes in the area. Now, my understanding is, Mr. Mayor, that Enbridge, just as much as our engineering department is looking at the possibilities of deferring, and I think they have deferred Millard or Park Avenue into 2018 potentially, but that Enbridge may, and some of the utilities, may decide to move in simply because of the nature of the contracts. We can't be there when they are there. They will still may be proceeding in 2016. So my concern is with, there's some confusion and some concern in terms of what's going to happen with Queen Street if there is going to be construction happening either by the utilities, either Millard or Park Avenue. So I understand that this notice really just refers to the initial survey, and I know that our staff is trying to coordinate as best as they can with construction schedule, construction impacts, and so forth. So I wonder if perhaps through you, Mr. Mayor, I could ask Mr. Nohammer to give us a little bit, clarify about the issue in terms of whether this project is actually going to move ahead 2016 or 2017, and what staff is doing in regards to prioritizing the different capital projects in that area. But before he does that, I wonder if somebody could put the word opportunities in layman term. It's something that's was sent out as part of the letter to the residents, that the opportunities are going to be also worked on. And if somebody could tell us what that means, that would really help.
Mr. Nohammer.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Councillor Spong is referring to a letter that will be distributed to residents of Queen Street, alerting them to construction work to occur. And at the present time, the letter is advising that the preparatory work for engineering design will be underway beginning later this year and then through next year. This involves surveying the road and the various features, including locations of utilities, curbs, driveways, etc. So the purpose of the letter is really to indicate to residents that some survey work is being undertaken, and that the surveyors will need to enter onto the driveways and fronts of people's homes, and not to be alarmed with that activity. The construction work is expected to be coordinated with other projects in the area, and as the councillor has indicated, we are making efforts to coordinate construction so as to minimize traffic disruption and roads that are under construction at the same time. There are a number of streets local to the Newmarket road network, as well as regional roads that will be under construction in the coming years, and we are making our best efforts to try and minimize that traffic disruption. In particular with major roads such as Yonge Street that will be under construction shortly with the Viva project, and Davis Drive as it wraps up later this year. We're just mindful of the fact that we want to minimize traffic disruption. So anyways, just that work is being undertaken with respect to preparing for the designs. The design work on Queen Street will be happening next year, and then the construction the following year.
Just to clarify, on the letter it says that this will form part of the town's capital works infrastructure replacement program for either 2016 or 2017. But that 2016 date is more of a design. That year is more of a design year, and we're not foreseeing digging up Queen Street in the early spring or summer of 2016. Is that correct?
Mr. Neumer?
Yes, and that's generally correct, Councillor Sponga. There will likely be some utility work, relocations. As you've indicated, Enbridge is one utility that is interested in trying to get in to move some of their plant or upgrade some of their plant ahead of the town's construction. So there may be some utility works underway in 2016, and then the major construction works likely in 2017.
I would just, again, want to stress the point that we've seen a lot of traffic infiltration on Queen Street, as you heard, even during the Viva Next presentation. I've asked that as part of the next communication program that they have coming out to let people know that Davis Drive is now open, to also try to educate people that they can actually use Davis Drive again and get off Queen Street, Millard Park, and etc. But I believe that we'll still have to be very sensitive over the next couple of years while the region is going to embark on several infrastructure programs and major roads, and we have utility works from Enbridge and Millard Park, potentially Queen Street. So I appreciate the level of attention that is being given to the possibility of staggering this work or coordinated in such a way that disruption is as little as possible. And if you could please tell me what, if you could please let our audience know what appurtenances are in the letter.
Yeah.
It's a right of way, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I must admit I can't find that in the letter, but
it's the very first line.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah.
Something to do with the potluck supper.
I'm sorry, I can't find it, but
okay, I'll bring it.
We can. I think it relates to things that are attached to or adjacent to. Is that not correct? Yeah.
Service connection. So, okay. Oh, there it is. So, in the context of this letter, I take it to mean that generally features within the right-of-way, the road allowance of Queen Street, such as curbs, locations of utilities, service connections, and the like. So that's what, in the context of this letter, I take appurtenances to mean.
That includes the community mailboxes?
I'm sure they do.
Okay.
I'm sure they do.
So I guess to that point, maybe some different language might be a little more meaningful. Okay. Any other items under new business? There being none, then confirmatory bylaw. Who wants to move that? Councillor Sponga, seconded by Councillor Bazance. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Regional Councillor, Councillor Vague. All those in favor?
Yeah, it's a pile, isn't it?
The seconder? Okay. Okay, that is carried. Thank you very much.